The crystal chandelier refracted light across the marble floor like scattered diamonds, but Minji felt none of its brilliance touch her. She stood at the window of her family's penthouse in Gangnam, watching Seoul's glittering skyline blur through the rain, her reflection a ghost against the glass. Behind her, voices rose and fell in heated Korean, her mother's sharp consonants cutting through her father's measured baritone. They were discussing her future again, as if she were a corporate asset to be strategically deployed. The Young family has agreed to the introduction, her mother said, triumph edging her words. Their son studied at Harvard. He'll take over their pharmaceutical empire. Minji closed her eyes. Another suitable match. Another man whose resume sparkled more than his eyes ever could. At 28, she had built her own fashion empire, turning her mother's textile company into a global luxury brand that graced runways. From Paris to New York, Forbes had called her Korea's golden daughter, her Instagram followers numbered in the millions. She had everything except the one thing money couldn't purchase, the freedom to choose her own path. Minji, yeah, her father's voice softened. We only want what's best for you. What's best? The phrase had haunted her entire life, a velvet cage disguised as love. What's best meant Seoul National University when she dreamed of Parsons. What's best meant business administration when her soul craved design. What's best meant preserving bloodlines and social standing, as if they lived in the Joseon dynasty rather than modern Korea. She turned from the window, her Valentino dress whispering against her legs. I'll meet him, she heard herself say, watching relief bloom on her parents' faces. It was easier than fighting. It always had been. 3 weeks later, Minji found herself in an unlikely place for a woman of her station, a medical charity gala for African healthcare initiatives. Her best friend Soo-jin had dragged her along, insisting she needed to experience real problems before drowning in her own privilege. The hotel ballroom pulsed with purpose rather than pretense, filled with doctors, humanitarian workers, and activists whose passion illuminated the space more than any chandelier could. That's when she saw him. He stood near a display of photographs documenting mobile clinics in rural Ghana, his tall frame elegant in a simple black suit that somehow made every designer tux in the room look gaudy. His skin was deep mahogany, his features sculpted with an artist's precision. But it was his hands that caught her attention, long fingers tracing the edge of a photograph tenderly, as if touching a memory he couldn't bear to lose. That's Dr. Koim Issei, Soo-jin whispered, Ghanaian neurosurgeon. He established free clinics across West Africa. Brilliant, completely uninterested in fame. Minji watched him speak with an elderly Korean woman, his smile transforming his serious face into something radiant. He listened with his entire body, leaning in as if her words were treasures. When had anyone listened to her like that? She didn't plan to approach him, but her feet carried her forward anyway, drawn by something she couldn't name. The children in that photograph, she found herself saying, they look happy despite everything. Quaim turned, and his eyes warm brown flecked with gold met hers. For a moment, neither spoke. Minji felt oddly exposed, as if he could see past her carefully constructed armor. They're happy, he said, his English carrying the musical lilt of Ghanaian accent. Happiness isn't the absence of hardship. It's the presence of hope. He extended his hand. Quaim Issei, Park Minji. His hand was warm, calloused in a way that spoke of real work, not gym memberships and golf clubs. Ah, the fashion designer, he said, surprising her. I've read about your sustainable fabric initiative. Using your platform to address exploitation in the textile industry, that takes courage. Heat rushed to her cheeks. The initiative had been her passion project, one her board had barely tolerated. Nobody in her circle had acknowledged it as anything more than good PR. You follow fashion? She asked, unable to hide her skepticism. His laugh was rich, unguarded. I follow justice. Fashion was just the vehicle. He gestured to the photographs. These clinics exist because people believed healthcare is a human right, not a luxury. You're doing the same with ethical fashion. Different medium, same spirit. They talked for 20 minutes that felt like seconds. Quaim spoke about growing up in Kumasi, his mother's fierce determination to educate her children, his decision to return to Ghana after training in London rather than pursuing wealth in the West. Minji found herself sharing things she'd never voiced aloud, her frustration with surface-level existence. Her secret sketchbooks filled with designs too radical for her brand, her suffocating sense of living someone else's life. Why don't you break free? Quaim asked simply. You don't understand Korean culture, she said, but the excuse felt hollow even to her ears. Perhaps not, he agreed, but I understand fear disguised as duty. His words struck like a bell, reverberating through her carefully constructed justifications. Before she could respond, Sujin appeared, whispering urgently about needing to leave for another engagement. Minji found herself scribbling her number on Quaim's program, her hand trembling with a boldness that felt both terrifying and exhilarating. Coffee? She suggested, trying to sound casual. I'd like that, Quaim said, his smile slow and genuine. They met 3 days later at a small cafe in Itaewon, far from Gangnam's watchful eyes. Rain drummed against the windows as they sat across from each other, steam from their cups rising between them like a veil. Tell me something true, Quaim said, wrapping his hands around his mug. Not the Forbes profile version? Something real. Minji stared into her latte, watching the phone dissolve. I wake up some mornings and don't recognize myself in the mirror, she whispered. I've become this perfect version of what everyone wanted, and I can't find the girl I used to be. The one who dreamed in colors and wanted to create beauty, not just sell it. She's still there, Quaim said quietly, waiting for you to remember her. How can you know that? Because I see her, right now. In the way your eyes light up when you talk about design. In the way your fingers move like you're sketching invisible patterns. He paused. In the courage it took to call a stranger and suggest coffee. Over the following weeks, they met whenever Quaim's schedule allowed. He was in Seoul temporarily, consulting on a partnership between Korean and African medical institutions. Their conversations ranged from profound to playful, discussing everything from Chinua Achebe to K-dramas, traditional kente cloth patterns to hanbok designs, the weight of family expectations to the audacity of dreams. Quaim showed her a different soul. They explored Don Daemun Market at dawn, where he marveled at the fabric vendors while she explained weaving techniques. They visited the National Museum, where he taught her about African art history with the same passion she felt for fashion. They ate tteokbokki from street carts and jollof rice in a tiny Ghanaian restaurant in Ansan, laughing at their attempts to navigate each other's spicy cuisines. But it was in the quiet moments that Minji felt herself falling. The way Quaim's face softened when he spoke about his patients, his reverence for his Ashanti heritage, wearing it with pride rather than hiding it to fit Western expectations, his unwavering belief that she deserved to choose her own happiness. In my culture, he told her one evening as they walked along the Han River, we have a concept called Sankofa. It means go back and fetch it. We must understand our past to move forward wisely. He stopped, turning to face her. You're so busy running from your identity that you've forgotten it might actually contain wisdom worth keeping. My identity is a prison, she said bitterly. No, the expectations are the prison. Your identity, Korean, creative, fierce, compassionate, that's your foundation. You can honor your roots while choosing new branches. She wanted to believe him. But already the complications were mounting. Her mother had arranged the meeting with the Jung heir. Her father was pressuring her to announce an engagement before the end of the year to stabilize the company's image, and her own heart was betraying her, pulling her toward a man who represented everything her world would never accept. "This can't continue," she told Quaim one night in her car, parked in the shadows near his hotel. Rain battered the windshield, cocooning them in intimacy. "You know that, don't you?" "Why?" His voice was calm, but she heard the steel beneath. "Because I'm African? Because I don't come from Chable money? Because your family would rather see you miserable with the right pedigree than happy with the wrong one? Because it's impossible." Her voice cracked. "You don't know what they're capable of. They'll destroy you. Your clinics, your reputation, everything you've built. My father has politicians and media in his pocket. They won't just disapprove, they'll obliterate." Quaim reached across the console, cradling her face in his hands. "Minji, I've performed surgery in war zones. I've fought pharmaceutical companies to get medicine to dying children. I faced impossible before." His thumb brushed away her tears. "The question isn't what they'll do. It's what you're willing to fight for." She kissed him then, desperately, pouring all her fear and longing into that connection. He tasted like rain and possibility, and for a moment, she let herself imagine a life where love was enough. But love wasn't enough when her mother appeared at her office 3 days later, face white with fury, clutching printed photographs. Minji and Quaim at the market, holding hands by the river, laughing over coffee. "Have you lost your mind?" Her mother hissed, throwing the photos across Minji's glass desk. "A black African? Do you have any idea what people are saying?" Minji's stomach clenched, but she forced herself to meet her mother's gaze. "What are they saying, Iyama? That I'm human? That I'm capable of choosing who I love? Love?" Her mother's laugh was acid. "This isn't love. This is rebellion. You're throwing away everything, your reputation, your company, your family for what? A fling with someone so far beneath you? Beneath me?" Minji stood, rage flooding her veins. "Dr. Asay has saved more lives than our entire family has affected with all our money. He's brilliant, compassionate, and treats me like a person, not a business asset. What exactly makes him beneath me? His skin color? His nationality?" Her mother's face hardened. "You will end this immediately. The Young family is waiting for your answer. You will announce your engagement next month, and if I refuse, then you will lose everything. Your position in the company, your trust fund, your name." Her mother's voice dropped to a whisper. "I will see that he loses his medical license in Korea, that his clinics lose funding, that every door closes in his face. You think your love is worth destroying his life's work?" The threat hung in the air like poison. Minji sank into her chair, feeling the trap close around her. That night, she didn't call Quaim, or the next night, or the one after that. She told herself she was protecting him, that sacrifice was the only loving choice. She attended the dinner with Yoon Tae-hein, a perfectly pleasant man who bored her to tears. She smiled for the photographers, played the role of the dutiful daughter, and felt pieces of her soul crumble with every performance. Quaim didn't chase her, but he sent a single text, Sankofa. "When you're ready to fetch what matters, I'll be here." 3 weeks passed. Minji threw herself into work, into wedding planning she couldn't remember agreeing to, into the comfortable numbness of surrender. She was fitting a model for the new collection when inspiration struck a design that fused traditional Korean lines with West African fabric patterns, crimson and gold dancing together like fire and earth. Her hands moved automatically, pinning and draping, tears streaming down her face as she created the most beautiful thing she'd ever made. "This is extraordinary," her head designer breathed. "What's it called?" Minji stared at the dress, seeing not just fabric but a choice. "It's called freedom," she whispered. She found Quaim at the teaching hospital where he'd been conducting seminars. He was explaining a surgical procedure to a group of residents, his hands gesturing elegantly, his passion evident in every word. When he saw her standing at the back of the auditorium, his expression remained carefully neutral, but his eyes held a question. She waited until the seminar ended, until the eager students had scattered. Then she walked down the aisle toward him, her heels clicking against the floor like a countdown. "I've been afraid my entire life," she said without preamble. "Afraid of disappointing them, afraid of losing everything I thought defined me, afraid of being alone." She stopped a few feet from him. "But the only thing I'm truly afraid of now is living without you. Without the person I am when I'm with you." Quaim's jaw tightened. "What about your family, your company, the threats?" "I've thought about Sankofa," she said softly. "Going back to fetch what matters. My Korean heritage matters. My family matters. But you know what I fetched?" She pulled out her phone, showing him designs the fusion dress, sketches of an entirely new collection. "I found the girl who dreamed in colors, and she doesn't need their permission to exist." "They'll follow through on their threats," Quaim warned, but she saw hope flickering in his eyes. "Let them. I've already transferred shares to establish my own company. I've secured independent funding. If they want to disown me, fine. I'll build something that actually matters. With or without their approval." She stepped closer. "But I'd rather build it with you. Your family may come around eventually, or they may not. Either way, it's their choice to make, not mine to control." She reached for his hand. "I can't promise this will be easy. Korea isn't ready for us. We'll face discrimination, gossip, closed doors. People will question us every day." "Let them question," Quaim said, finally allowing himself to smile. "I've never been particularly interested in easy." He pulled her into his arms then, and Minji felt something inside her chest unlock. Around them, hospital staff pretended not to stare, but she couldn't bring herself to care. For the first time in her life, she was exactly where she belonged. The confrontation with her parents was brutal. Her father's face turned purple with rage. Her mother wept, invoking ancestors and family honor. They threatened, they pleaded, they painted apocalyptic futures. Minji listened to it all with a strange calm. "I love you both," she said finally. "I honor everything you've given me, but I'm no longer living the life you designed. I'm creating my own." She stood, smoothing her dress. "When you're ready to know me, the real me, not the daughter you imagined, I'll be waiting. But I won't wait at the cost of my own soul." Her mother's next words were the hardest to hear. "Then you're no daughter of mine?" Minji nodded, swallowing grief. "I'm sorry you feel that way, Iyama. I hope one day you'll change your mind." She walked out of their penthouse and didn't look back. The months that followed tested everything. The media frenzy was vicious. Tabloids plastered her face next to Quaim's with cruel headlines about Korea's fallen princess. Some of her brand's corporate partners withdrew. Society women she'd considered friends crossed the street to avoid her. The Young family publicly denounced the broken engagement, spinning narratives that painted her as unstable. But other things happened too. Her fusion collection sold out within hours, with international praise for its bold cultural dialogue. Young Korean women began reaching out, sharing their own stories of forbidden love and family pressure. Her new company, built on true ethical principles, attracted talent who believed in the mission rather than the prestige. And Quaim stood beside her through it all, weathering the racism and skepticism with quiet dignity. 6 months after their public debut as a couple, Minji was invited to speak at Seoul National University. She stood before a lecture hall full of students, many of them staring at her with curiosity and judgment in equal measure. "I was taught that love is conditional," she began. "That acceptance requires conformity. That honoring family means erasing yourself. She paused, looking out at their young faces. I'm here to tell you that's a lie. True honor comes from authenticity. Real love embraces rather than constrains. And family chosen or born should celebrate who you are, not who they want you to be. She spoke about Quaim, about their different worlds finding common ground, about Korean collectivism and African Ubuntu philosophy, both emphasizing community and connection, about how love across cultures doesn't erase identity but enriches it. Will I reconcile with my parents? She said toward the end, I hope so. I leave that door open. But I won't set myself on fire to keep them warm. And neither should you. The applause started slowly, then built into something thunderous. Afterward, a young woman approached her, tears streaming down her face. My family disowned me for dating a Vietnamese man, she whispered. Watching you gives me hope that I made the right choice. Minji squeezed her hand. You did. The right choice is always the one that lets you breathe. A year after that hospital auditorium, Minji and Quaim stood on a beach in Ghana, the Atlantic Ocean roaring behind them. They were surrounded by an eclectic mix of Quaim's family, his mother resplendent in traditional kente, his siblings loud and welcoming, and Minji's chosen family, Sujin, several designers from her new company, and to her tearful surprise, her younger brother. Iyama and Appa may not be ready, he had told her privately, but I couldn't miss this. You're the bravest person I know. The ceremony itself was a fusion of traditions. Korean pie-baked tea ceremony and Ghanaian libation rituals, hanbok and kente cloth, kalbi and jollof rice. As Minji knelt beside Quaim before his mother, offering traditional bows, the older woman cupped her face gently. You honor us by honoring your own truth, she said in accented English. Welcome home, daughter. Minji's tears fell freely. Home wasn't a place or a people. It was authenticity. It was choosing love even when love cost everything. That night, as fireworks painted the sky and two cultures celebrated as one, Minji's phone buzzed with a message. Her heart stopped when she saw the sender. We watched the photos your brother sent, her mother wrote. You look happy, truly happy. Perhaps happiness is more important than we realized. We have much to discuss when you return. If you'll allow it. Minji showed the message to Quaim, hardly daring to hope. Sankofa, he said softly, kissing her temple. Sometimes others need to go back and fetch wisdom too. She replied simply, I'd like that very much. Iyama, the path forward wouldn't be smooth. Her parents' acceptance would be grudging at first, their relationship requiring patience and education. Korean society's prejudices wouldn't vanish overnight. There would be more battles, more moments of doubt, more times when swimming against the current felt impossible. But as Minji looked at her husband, this brilliant, beautiful man who had shown her what it meant to live in full color, she knew one truth above all others. She had finally found the courage to be the author of her own story. And that story, with all its complications and beauty, was far more precious than any life of comfortable lies could ever be. The ocean whispered against the shore, and somewhere in Seoul, a door long closed began to crack open. Not every love story needed to choose between family and freedom. Sometimes, with enough courage and time, you could build bridges wide enough for both.